I'd like to make a motion to call this meeting to order.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I thank you all for attending. As I begin, I want to ask all our homeowners and business owners to check their fire detectors, their smoke detectors, and make sure they replace the battery so that as we enter into Fire Prevention Week in October and throughout the winter, that all our residents are safe and they take that small precaution to make sure that their family's secure. And in that vein, I'd like to ask the chief to go out and I researched 9-volt batteries cost about $1.25 a piece. We could probably spend $1,000 on 9-volt batteries and deliver them to all the apartment buildings in town and make sure all those residents have their smoke detectors working. So hopefully that'll happen. Now I'd like to move on to a discussion of September 15th, if anyone has any comments. Well, I prepared a statement. I think that, again, I thank you all for coming and watching your local fire district board of fire commissioners meeting. And I want to apologize to our citizens and elected officials for the behavior of some of the members of Eastchester Fire Department. I want everyone to know that over 90% of our firefighters are excellent. They're hardworking, they're competent, they're fit, they come to work regularly, they do everything that's asked of them. And I thank them. And we actually created a sick leave incentive to reward them because they deserved it. They never miss a tour. They come to work, they do their job, they never complain. And that's what we need in Eastchester. We need a fire department that's dedicated to the service that they've sworn to uphold. So if anyone else has a comment, I'll turn it over to them. Oh, the public comments will be later. Thank you.
I wasn't at the meeting. Could you give me a synopsis of what happened on December the 15th?
Do we want to go there now? Sure. It's just that a firehouse got closed because 2 members went sick, and the board had voted to not add $10,000 to the OT fund to hire them. That's what happened. Commissioner, 2 members who aren't here today, they wanted to transfer $200,000. We said, no, that's too much money. Commissioner Rabin and Commissioner Keating made a great compromise. They wanted to put $10,000 in to keep it all going. And that's what we're going to do today. And unfortunately, the commissioners that wanted to put the large amount of sum of money in voted no for that. That's basically what happened. I have nothing else to say about it.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I have a follow-up question, please. I didn't realize you were talking about
They
that.
need to use the public comment microphone.
Well, we're going to leave public comments after the meeting.
Do you still want to use the microphone? They can still use the microphone.
It doesn't matter, I can ask you, that's what I want to know. I listened in on that meeting, and I had an informal conversation just now with Commissioner Raven. On the proposal from the county, and I know you may or may not be able to comment on the 2 members who are not here, Winters and Paulo. Do I want to make a statement about it? We pay you 5 commissioners?
No.
No.
We're not
Okay,
paid.
but you get voted on, I believe.
We're elected officials,
Okay,
exactly.
well, people vote and they expect people to then participate and be at these meetings. So I'm making a public statement. I don't understand why they're not here. I think they should be here. Frankly, those are the 2 people I'd like to talk to.
Because they're not on the microphone.
And why I
They're
hate
not here.
it. And specifically regarding the county proposal regarding an offer to the firemen if they wanted to early retire, which to me made a tremendous amount of sense.
Thank you.
Tremendous savings. I thought you did an excellent job of presenting that, okay? And then somebody abstained.
I did.
For the life of me, I can't understand how somebody could abstain. I'd like to understand that.
All right, I will explain that to you because that's about me.
Yes, and no, and you-
The,
People at home will change the channel if they can't hear like that.
right, that
If
you
he's gonna
couldn't be
speak,
heard.
he needs to go to one of the microphones.
All right, and we have to, this will be the last thing, and then we have to do the meeting and then go to public comments. That's why we took the list. I abstained because I have a son on the list. Commissioner Winters and I have children on the list. And when the buyout, which saves a huge amount of money, Stu and myself had done a CBA that everybody was happy with. We know that every new firefighter that we hire is going to cost the district $131,000 less. That's what Jamie has figured out for us. So if you pay $1,000 to the buyout, you're gaining $100,000. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
I would have voted for it in a second, except for there was an email when it was suggested saying, I can't vote on that because it intimates that I'm going deeper into the list. In other words, I didn't write that email, but that was directed to the board. So I take the message. I'm going to be accused of going deeper into the list if I vote for the buyout. And therefore, I'm doing it unjustly because, we sent it to Ethics Council. We had Ethics Council decide. Ethics Council said, as long as your son is not in consideration for the job, you can vote. But the next day, that email came out that says, no, that could be interpreted as digging deeper into the list.
That one is purposely giving a buyout so that he or she can reach his or her daughter on a list that might not otherwise make it.
So I had to abstain. That's why I had to abstain from hiring. I don't know how a commissioner can say that offering a buyout is digging deeper into a list, but hiring isn't.
So let's say, okay, I don't want to debate this too much, but it made so much sense to me that, I was like, well, why would somebody abstain? I couldn't fathom it. I did think of that, but I said, even if somebody had a son in there, so what? Let the firefighter decide whether he wants to take the buyout or not. Just make the offer.
Absolutely.
We're not talking about signing off on this thing. It's already been done at the county level. I'm saying, what are these guys doing?
And you want us
We
to try
agree
and
with you
save some-
100%. It's just an unfortunate situation where we have to guard ourselves against false accusations. So we'll send this to Ethics Council.
And somebody rejected, somebody voted no. So then my question to them would be, why'd you vote no?
2 people voted no, I thought, or 1. Yeah. Well, they're not here. Both of those commissioners did not come today. Hopefully they'll come to the next meeting and you can ask them.
Well, I'm throwing them out on it, so I'd like to know.
Sir, the microphone is right there.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
people online are
Thank
complaining
you
they
for your
can't hear.
question, for your
If you don't go to
input.
the microphone, nobody can hear you,
So,
so it's like half a
treasurer's
meeting.
report. Jamie?
Just ask at the end.
Thank you, sir. I don't want to be cutting everyone off, but we did designate comments for the end.
I'd like to agree with that.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Please.
Try and move through this.
So at today's meeting, we are going to approve the proposed budget for 2021. So that's what I'm going to present right now. This is the proposed budget. We'll have on October 20th, we'll have a public hearing for any public comments on the budget, and then either at that meeting, depending on the level of comments, or if not at that meeting, by November 4th, we will adopt the final 2021 budget. I did present the budget at the prior meeting we had earlier this month. The major change from now and then is that we did receive information from the retirement system, which is one of our largest, personnel-related expenses. Their rates are increasing about 20% across the board this year. It's, partially COVID-related and partially, how the market has done. They're also, I think, using it kind of to consider, they mentioned lifespans or, outside the actuarial tables, what they anticipated, as well as the level, of pensions that people are retiring with. So this year there was sort of what seems to be a true-up, and the rates did increase, significantly more than at least I've seen since I've been here for the last 4 years. So that is, a major contributor to the expenses. We've also, again, with some of the overtime discussions, we have discussed revising our overtime budget to be more in line with what we've experienced historically. We know we're going to start the year down at least 2 firefighters, so that we've taken into consideration. And that's in addition to, like we talked about last time, we have 2.5% salary increases per the CBA, and other expenses outside of our control, such as our healthcare, and just general items that we know we're going to need to purchase in 2021. With that being said, the board has expressed to me it wants to have a 0% budget increase, 0% tax increase. We are allowed per the state to increase our taxes approximately 3.1%. without exceeding the tax cap, and that's because, our increases have been on the smaller side the last few years, so we have some carryover available to us. However, like I said, the board has expressed wanting to stay at 0%. So the budget as proposed right now would have identical tax levy to last year, but the total expenditures will be increasing approximately $930,000. And the plan for that is to take that out of our surplus. So we anticipate at the end of the year, we will have an unreserved balance of anywhere, close to $2.5 to $3 million. And from what I understand, that's the board's plan. So we are able to appropriate those funds rather than raise taxes. And I believe that's what the board wants to do. So that's the budget that's presented as of today.
Thank you, Jamie. And so I'll make a motion to adopt the proposed budget for the Eastchester Fire District with the total expenditure of $18,656,470.95, with a tax levy of $17,695,499.70. And can I have a second? And Commissioner Keating seconds that. Can I call roll? Commissioner Keating?
Aye.
Commissioner Raven?
Aye.
Commissioner Roach is aye. Commissioner Carlo and Commissioner Winter are absent. So the motion has passed. And then we have one more motion for the treasurer.
As we've been discussing our overtime budget for 2020, there are certain transfers that I had recommended at the last meeting to get us through the end of the year. We know we are running short, and we can anticipate what the overtime will look like through the remainder of the year. So I have prepared, again, recommended transfers in the amount of $200,000 from various GL line items. So this is money that's in the budget for 2020, and we would just be moving it from the line that it was budgeted for into the overtime. So those are my recommended transfers, but I believe the board has a different plan, so I'll let you go ahead.
All right, I thought you were going to do the resolution. All right, so I'll make a resolution that we transfer $15,000 from training overtime into the general overtime budget. Can I have a second? Stu Raven has second. I'll call a roll. Commissioner Keating?
Aye.
Commissioner Raven?
Aye.
Commissioner Roach is aye. All right, Chief's report.
I don't have a regular report, as this is not a regular monthly meeting.
Okay, so you,
All right, so if you want me to update you on the Google, that's
Thank
set
you.
on the agenda, sure. So Jamie and I went into the Google account, and Commissioner Winter is no longer a super administrator. He's a regular participant, as the other 5 board members are. The Sullivan data did come and go into our Google administrator account, and the gentleman was here for about 3 hours and got whatever information he needed. We haven't gotten any report back from them. After he was done, we did change our password for the administrator account so that he wouldn't be able to get into it somehow by signing on from another location. Again, Commissioner Winter is no longer anything different than the other commissioners on the Google account, and we're waiting for Sullivan Data's updated report on the administrative end of it.
now, do you believe we need a third-party administrator, or you being the sole administrator is?
I believe we do need somebody to consult with us on IT. Like right now, we have no Wi-Fi in the firehouse. It went down last week or 2 weeks ago. And I don't know whether to call Lewis, who we used as a consultant prior, or should I use Sullivan Data? I need a little direction from the board. One of the comments in their report that they had given us so far was that we had a home-based Wi-Fi. So it was just something that you would buy at Best Buy and put in your house. And they recommended more of a commercial grade. But that's going to get more expensive, so I don't know if the board needs to approve it. Or do we just say to Sullivan Data, we need a commercial grade Wi-Fi and make it secure so nobody can get in other than us?
I think we need him to give us an estimate on that work.
Sure.
But I think we could vote for that right now. I'll propose a resolution that we ask,
Sullivan Data?
Sullivan Data to provide us with an estimate to carry out the work that he made in his,
Well, I would say that, Chief, you should be able to use your current vendors because we have them established. and
Right,
that's whatever
right.
you need. But what we should, I would make a motion that we go out to RFP for these
okay,
IT
fine,
services.
perfect.
And we'll put an RFP together and we'll have, whatever IT vendors that are available to respond back and look at them being a third party, vendor for the district. So I would make a motion that we go out to RFP. In the meantime, the chief, you just
Right.
operate as normal, and we should get some responses back and just do what we did the first time, which was an RFP in order to get the report. Now we'll do an RFP for addressing the issues that are in the report and put that out to the public.
I'll second that motion. Go forward. Commissioner Keating?
Aye.
Commissioner Ray? Commissioner Rhodes is aye. So that resolution passes and you
Okay,
move
I'll speak
forward.
to Sullivan Data about it.
Now, at the last meeting, Commissioner Winters mentioned that a previous commissioner deleted his email account, and then you became the recipient of that account. Are we required to keep those emails?
Well, now we have the Google Vault, which keeps every single email that anybody on our account gets. Prior to that, I can't speak to what Commissioner Winter did. I know that Commissioner Keating said that the name Stephen Baker came up, so we have in the past reused accounts as people have left. So, but that was again
So
when
what happened to those email accounts?
I couldn't speak to that. I wasn't chief at the time. It was when Commissioner Napolitano was running our IT department, and he set us up with the Google. And then when he left, Commissioner Winter took over. So I guess he was just doing what Commissioner Napolitano did in the past. But again, I wasn't chief at the time. I don't know
Understood.
what happened to the accounts.
Right.
Do we have any
Chief's probably
responsibility
accurate. This is more the reason why we need to have
Right.
a third-party vendor come in. We'll
For
do an
continuity.
RFP, He'll take care of these issues, and it's quite apparent that they haven't been managed properly, and they need to be, because these emails have a retention schedule by New York State. Most of them are a minimum of 6 years to stay in a secure location for FOIL, for investigation. We haven't been doing that. So the RFP will address that, but it's the improper use of the technology.
Do we have to include trying to retrieve any lost emails?
You can't.
Yeah, you won't be
You
able
won't be
to.
able to.
But we
As
have
Chief
had the vault
explained-
about a year,
Yeah,
so.
as the chief explained, with the board moved to put a vault, which was an add-on module through Google that would act as a catch basin. So anything that was deleted is never permanently deleted. That was not instituted until last year. Mr. Keating's email wasn't created until December of 19, right? That was right, December of 19.
It was probably January
This
1st,
email
but yeah,
account-
it's pretty close.
This email account was no longer in use as of December of 18.
Right.
So it sat there for a year and was, I guess, vulnerable to it being eviscerated.
And for the chief, you mentioned one thing that I saw Steve Baker's. I didn't see Steve
Oh,
Baker's
okay.
name, but I did. Someone said that they saw Steve
Okay.
Baker up on my email.
I know when Lisa Gutierrez used to use her email, some people said it would come up as Mary Lou Falcone. So somehow, somewhere in there,
The outgoing label of the email
Okay.
was not changed, just the
Right.
internal address and the username.
Okay.
That was probably what it did. So they probably saw, someone in the public saw an email from you, and as your phone would give you an ID of who's calling you because they're in your contacts, that email had a different contact name attached to it. So we'll fix it.
So next on the agenda is the Chester Heights Station bid, and we did receive that. They were opened yesterday. Chief opened them and Jamie recorded them. We have a list here. Am I required to read this list in public?
Not
No.
yet.
Okay.
They haven't been vetted yet by the.
But we have 8 good bids. They're a variety of bids, but we'll see how that turns out. And hopefully by the next time we meet in 2 weeks, we can report on that, certainly by the end of October. Would we like to discuss how we are going to heat Chester Heights today, so we can make a decision? That's been on limbo, and that was probably supposed to be included in this bid package, but wasn't.
well, we're going into the third winter with no boiler down in Chester Heights. What we did last year we were blessed with a very mild winter. I don't think it got below freezing more than a couple times. We put in electric baseboard heat in the kitchen, the bathroom, and the dormitory. So as the guys use those rooms, they have normal heat or temporary heat. That'll be removed when we do the renovation. But if there's a bitter cold winter and the overhead door opens and closes, it could drop below freezing in other parts of the firehouse, so that would be a concern. So I don't know what the board wants to do. I thought it was part of the project that we were gonna, either decide on whether it was gonna be a steam boiler, as one person suggested, or we're gonna go with the HVAC system, as we did at the Station 5 renovation and the second floor dormitory renovation here, regular, HVAC system. The only problem with going with the steam boiler is the windows that were just installed a few years ago are mostly casement windows, and it's tough to get air conditioners to fit the casement windows. They're usually very small. So, it would be better if we, use those Mitsubishi type units or just had a HVAC system that did heat and air conditioning. So it's really a board decision to give UES direction.
I mean, I agree with the chief. I think a steam boiler is a long way to go on this. I think we need to stop 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We can make a decision today, or we can make a decision for October about how we want to proceed. We do have heat in those limited areas of the firehouse, but it doesn't take care of the apparatus floor, which can always be a concern. But I would say we should talk to the engineers, and we should give those as our 2 options that we're ready to go with, and see if any of that can be implemented even before the floor is removed. Especially if it's a Mitsubishi unit, they have nothing to do with any of the construction we're doing. They'll just pop 2 holes in the wall and put a condenser outside, and they move on to the next room. I agree with the chief. I think one of those 2 need to be our option when you get away from steam boilers and all that stuff. That's my opinion.
Are we prepared to vote on it today or not?
I mean, I could bring it to the engineer.
Yeah, let the engineer decide,
Okay.
but we should get an HVAC system and
Yeah,
stop
we should
messing
do that.
around
The
with
chief
getting
had that.
steam
The chief
boiler.
had that presentation too about the empty area above the bedrooms, the dormitories. We could put.
There's
a
attic
boiler up
areas
there.
above both
Yeah.
the first and second
Either
floor
one
living
would work.
areas.
I mean, the engineer has spoken on this on
Right.
Lent. He already told us the HVAC system is most likely going to be cheaper unless he has extensive ductwork.
Right.
So we already know the HVAC is more economical, it's year-round, it's what the chief has requested, and thought that it was best, and has previous experience with it. If we could get 3 votes, I wouldn't mind voting on it right now.
Chief, are you comfortable with an
Yeah,
HVAC
yeah,
in there?
yeah.
And just try and get that pushed forward? As
I think
quickly
that's
as
what
possible?
UES was leaning towards
Yeah.
anyway. I think they
So
were
I'd
recommending
make a
that.
motion to install an HVAC system in Chester Heights and get heating and everything taken care of.
I will second that motion.
So I have abstained from the overall Chester Heights construction, but would happily vote yes for HVAC. It's a silly, it's a whole silly discussion on this. And this
All right, so Commissioner Keating has voted yes?
I'll vote yes.
And Commissioner Roach votes aye. So that is passed. I will notify Joe Paterno to move forward with the HVAC system in Chester Heights. All right, this is very important because we have a district election coming up, and we have nobody to run it. Our district secretary resigned in February. We have not been able to put a secretary together. It was a fight just to get it advertised.
I tried.
Brian did everything he could to get it going. We had 2 secretary candidates. I would like to offer both of those candidates the opportunity to work together to administrate the fire district election in December together and comply with all the necessary filings and notifications required by the Board of Elections.
I'd second that.
So I have a second. Can we have a roll call? Commissioner Keating?
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond?
Aye.
Commissioner Roach says aye. So Jamie, will you please reach out to those 2, apologize for, and thank them for their great patience, and make that offer to them? Do we want to discuss a stipend at this point, so they have an idea?
So that Jamie has that information. I would be comfortable initially with offering an hourly amount, and then an amount not to exceed for any candidate who takes advantage of it. And if we had to revisit it, then does that make sense? Like if we paid $25 an hour for this work and not an amount not to exceed 500, 1,000 a person, because this could be a lot of hours.
Well, from my talk with Cheryl, our lawyer, she already insinuated that we're behind in our filings, that we should have already notified the Board of Election on certain things that we haven't. Are you aware of how much time it might have taken Lisa to, or other people that ran the board, the election, how many hours that consisted of?
I'm not.
In my conversations with Lisa, I asked her whether or not, something close to
I don't know.
25, 50,
Yeah.
she said, just for the election, yes, between that. Plus you have a full day On election day, it's a full day. So you have to take into account that could be a 12-hour day. Plus, we have our polls open from 2 to 9. There's preparation before, there's preparation after. So that day alone, you're looking at about 12 hours.
And the night before, they have to swear
And
in
the night
everybody.
before, exactly.
so.
They have to swear in for all
Couple
the
hours.
election inspectors. That might be a little bit different this year with the number of people, number of locations, but the time will probably remain the same. So you're looking at another 5 hours that night before alone. So 24 hours just for the 48 hours of the election. So I would say 50 hours would be a conservative.
So
view.
25 each, 750 each.
Yeah.
Would we be, so we could offer them $750 each, and if they went over to 25 hours, if they had a good recording of it, they would be compensated $25 an hour.
Okay.
And what would be the maximum hours, you think? 40 hours for each?
I don't know if you want to set the maximum.
Okay,
I think
never mind.
we're
They're
so far
just
behind.
I think
beginning.
we should just
Let 'em at it.
$25, the rate of $25 per hour.
Yeah. We're so far behind.
Yeah.
We couldn't get this done.
Yep.
And we're going to be in jeopardy
agree.
of having trouble on
Let's
election
just push
day.
it out.
The only thing, I think there are limits as far as if they're working the election, they can only be paid so much. But if you're hiring them as secretaries,
Yeah.
Well, we
then,
can't hire them as secretaries because we're,
So-
I mean,
Well, we
I don't
are-
know the limit, but I know there are
it's a
limits.
temporary position. That has to be, very clear to them that we're not offering the secretary
Right.
position.
Right.
But just
And-
keep in mind, we have used third-party individual town residents
Okay.
before to run the election that were not employees in the district or elections.
Okay.
And we could certainly go back and find out how much we paid for that one individual, but I have a feeling it's more than $700.
Okay.
So,
And that, but you bring me to our next topic, is that again, we've not had a fire district secretary since March. Thank you, Jamie, because Jamie has filled both roles and done it very well. But we cannot count on her doing that. And certainly by election 2021, we want to have an experienced secretary, so we're not hiring people off the street. I would like to propose, back in 2019, the district voted on getting a legal counsel, in-house legal counsel, and that never happened, and we haven't gotten a secretary. I would like to join those two things and make it a full-time position, that we hire a legal counsel, fire district secretary to work 9 to 5 in headquarters, Monday through Friday. And that we should send out interviews, start that process and see what takers we have.
well, we have this position budgeted for in our budget already. We just didn't take advantage of it because of COVID, everything that slowed us down. I have no problem trying to assemble some type of posting,
RFP.
job ad, whatever it is, and trying to see if we can find someone who has these types of skills and expertise to submit for this position. I'm fine if the board wants to move in that direction. That's fine.
Would that be
I
something we
think,
should?
I think it's a good idea, and I think the position will pay for itself instead of constantly reaching out to counsel for various things. The in-house counsel can do a lot of stuff. So I think it's a good idea. I would
Well,
do
they'd be at these meetings to assist us.
it. There you go.
All right, so do we need to vote on that or just move forward with it? Okay, very
We have
good.
it already established in the budget.
Yep.
So.
And then we spoke about the buyout earlier. That was number 10 on the agenda. And we don't have enough commissioners present to vote. I have to abstain. We're going to, I will make a resolution that we, Commissioner Winter and I, children on the list, we have to send it to Ethics Council. I apologize. I know it's an expenditure I don't want to make, but we have to have Ethics Council decide whether it's something that I'm compromised or not. So until we have commissioners that can vote for this, it's really on the table, or until we get a reply from council, Ethics Council.
Okay, so I would make a motion to send this matter before Steve Sledsnick as our ethics counsel as to whether or not it's commissioners are permitted to vote for the buyout based upon them having family members on the list, and I would ask.
If we could join two questions, I have two questions. I'd also like to know if it's permissible for me to talk about the discussion of increasing manning, reconfiguring the fire department so that we can better cover all the areas of the town and also keep our firefighters safer by putting more men on an individual rig. Maybe we don't have as many rigs, but we reconfigure it so that, Yes, we're here to save life. Without a doubt, we're here to save life. But firefighter life is part of that equation. We can't discount that and only think of civilian life. So if he could answer those two questions for me, hopefully it'll be one question, but we discuss our ability to, is a commissioner compromised, or can he talk about the manning of the fire department if he has a member on the list. And quite interestingly, last list, we had 3 commissioners with children on the list, and our ethics council basically said we couldn't hire. That 3 people could not vote. Was that the interpretation? That's what I read. If we have 3 commissioners with children on the list, that you need 3 votes to hire. Yeah. So it is something to think about, and certainly myself, whether how I can seek re-election or not, depending on whether how this all goes. All right, so I apologize for delaying everyone's time.
I would make that motion, I would second the combined motion of the 2 questions.
Okay, and
I'll second.
Commissioner Rabin?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye, and Commissioner Rose says aye. So we want to,
I'm sorry?
yes, I will. Thank you. So we're going to send to Ethics Council a question of whether a commissioner with children on a list are able to discuss manning issues and whether they can get involved in buyouts, because that could be interpreted as digging deeper into the list and then giving their children a better opportunity to get hired. And we just voted on it. Was that clear enough for you?
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Now the next thing is sending additional firefighters to CPAT for hiring interviews. Again, we have all the hundreds. We have at least 7 hundreds on the list. I cannot believe that we'll go hire more than 7 people. So really, that's not a necessity at this time.
I agree.
Okay.
Well, I believe only 5 have CPAT, and you have to have 3 candidates to hire anybody. So you can't hire all 5 with CPAT. You can only hire 3 people, and then you only have 2 people left. So you would have to hit the 95s if the other hundreds didn't go to the CPAT. Isn't that correct, Jamie? Aren't there 5 left with CPAT? And then 2 have the option
Yeah, I
to
think
go?
one just got added back. I spoke to somebody last week.
Okay, so maybe 6. So that would allow
Are
us
we
to
going to
hire
hire more
4.
than 6
So
candidates?
that would allow us to hire 4 candidates.
4, because you need a pool of 3.
Okay.
So once you hired 4, you would
So we
only have a
4
pool of
candidates
2.
that we can hire
Jamie
up to.
did say we're down 2 already.
Right, so we have the opportunity, if we needed to hire, we could fill 4 slots right now, right?
With the candidates
With
we
the
have,
candidates
yes.
that we have, so that's 4 slots.
And we don't have the votes to do it now anyhow.
Yeah.
So let's, if you want to postpone that for 2 weeks and then more commissioners come, they can vote on that. Whatever the commissioner says, I'm fine with.
Well, the next CPAT is in December, and candidates are allowed to opt out of the orientation, which will be, I believe, in October, and then the practice trials. They get a time practice if they want in November before they go to CPAT. So if we did decide to go, we could, have people, to notify them. You would have to opt out of the orientation, and if it went longer than that, you would have to opt out of the practice, but they could still go to the CPAT.
We did
So
do
we
that.
we do have till next month, I would think.
We did have 1 candidate have to opt out of that, didn't we, last year, I believe, one of the hundreds?
I think 2, right? I think 2
So we
opted
did,
out.
But, I mean, the reality
for
is
various
that
reasons.
we need at least 1 other commissioner to join us in order to do this.
Mhm.
Since we don't have that, we should just move on
Right.
and proceed.
And so next is the update on IT services.
I think we handled it.
Yeah, I think we did too. All right, commissioners report.
I have no report.
0.
All right. We'll open the meeting for public. Who's the first name there?
Yellow pad.
Paul
It is,
Ranalone.
10 to 10.
I'm going to just move the microphone here so they get picked up by the people that are at home.
Perfect.
Good job, Tom.
Paul Ranalone, Eastchester resident and retired fire lieutenant. My only comment today, right now, is that
Could you move a little closer to the mic? There you go.
my only comment this morning is going to be that the 3 of you, I think, have accomplished more at a meeting than I've seen accomplished in the last several months, at least since COVID started. I think you need a board that is going to work together. You may not agree all the time, but you should certainly be able to work together and agree on what to do, and not keep pushing things off month after month after month, and letting things just hang around. As just as Station 4 has been being worked on now, it's got to be at least 4 years since the start of that project, and it seems like it's a never-ending project. I'm glad to see that everything was discussed, manning, apparatus, the firehouses, hiring. Continue the good work, continue working together. Good luck.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
I gave you the list.
Oh, okay. Mike Parisi?
Just please try to get close to the microphone so it picks you up, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Michael.
Morning.
I'd like to thank you guys for being here, but it's pretty sad that the other two commissioners aren't here at this meeting. You're taxpayers in the town. You were elected to the position, and they should have been here. There's a lot of talk in the confines of Engine 30. I live in the confines of Engine 30, that house is going to close, or the house is going to be, the firefighters are going to be relocated to different companies. You can't place a life on relocating firefighters to different companies when people that live in Chester Heights rely on that. Back when you weren't here and I wasn't here, these firehouses were laid out by the Board of Fire Commissioners to protect what? Life and property in the town and village of Eastchester, Tuckahoe, and Bronxville. And it's not being done. If you're going to relocate the engine company, you got a great fire department here. These men are great people. They don't turn around and run the other way when they see smoke. They run into the smoke. And it's just sad that people that get on the Board of Fire Commissioners and blow smoke, but are not here to represent what's going on. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mike. And we do, you made up some good points, and we'll discuss them. Certainly, Chester Heights is not going to be closed. As you see that beautiful rig that we paid $1 million for last year, it's going to be stationed in Chester Heights as soon as it's renovated. Now, how we handle that 3, 4, 5 months where that floor is gone and it's being rebuilt, be patient with us. We are considering your safety and your well-being, and we're also considering the and we're also considering the safety of the firefighters. There was a story I heard once of a single firefighter operating a hose line in a basement in a fire in Chester Heights.
That's right.
And he was there a long time by himself.
There was only one
And that's an
fire.
extremely dangerous situation to put a firefighter in.
You know it, and I know it. There was only one firefighter stationed at that house for many years. Then it went to 2 firefighters because the Board of Fire Commissioners stepped up to the plate. If they take that engine company out and they have to do repairs on that house, what is the first new engine company into Chester Heights if that engine's not there?
It's Main Street, right?
Bronxville or...
Yeah, in Bronxville and Main Street, depending where.
Okay. If Bronxville is on a run, what happens then?
Then Main Street,
Main
27
Street.
would come down.
Let's say you get a working fire in the north end. What do you do then? You call
31 is there.
What's that?
31 engine would be there.
Figure out how to keep the presence down there to the best of our ability. That's sure I'm saying.
Okay, because we're in the valley,
Absolutely.
all right? And
I would ask you to consider this, though. And because I make this statement, I'm not saying we're closing Chester Heights. That's not what I'm saying. I just told you, Ladder 16 is going into Chester Heights as soon as it's ready to receive it.
you're saying that.
Yeah, right, thank
You guys
you.
are saying that,
Yes.
but there's other people that
I
we hear
understand. I understand.
are saying different smoke signals to the community.
Well, that's why I like to talk in public
Right.
instead of gossip
3
and
of us
slander.
right here.
What would be safer? 3 men coming or 1 man coming? Or 2 men coming? You have to consider that.
You got to consider
Also-
what the standards are. The standards are 2 men per engine company.
Well,
Really,
that's
it
nice.
should be
That's what we're
4
working
men
with,
per
yeah.
engine company. It should be an officer, the driver, and 2 firefighters. I mean,
That would be a
okay,
perfect
that's-
scenario. You're
That's the
absolutely
perfect
right.
scenario.
But that's a very expensive
So
scenario.
right now, you can't. If a house is burning and somebody doesn't come out, that's an expense of some family to lose a child, mother and father, or the homeowner.
You're absolutely correct. Sorry.
This has been going on for years, and you guys know it's been going on for years. There's been talk that the boiler wasn't working, we're spending too much money on the oil when it was previous fire commissioners. Let's step up to the plate and let's do the right thing for
Michael.
the community.
We have paid 3 engineers to replace that floor. 1 in 2004 It was delivered in 2005. We had one in what, 2016 or 17?
Yes.
And then this
I know
one that we
I know
paid
you
for
have.
this year.
I know, you have shored up the floor.
You're not telling me, it's
You have shored
disgusting.
up the floor many a times in the basement. But, you know, we have to step up to the plate. We have to do the right thing for the fire district, for the community first, and then for the fire district. We need that firehouse to be there. We need to know what's going on all the time as residents of Engine 30 in the confines of that company.
Thank you, Michael, I appreciate it.
You paid for it.
Steven,
You paid for it. And you have a $3 million
You're up,
surplus.
brother.
Sure, we do pay for it. We pay for it out
all
of our
right, thank
taxes.
you. I should have put you up
Yeah.
first anyhow, I apologize. MP Leary? O'Leary, sorry.
I'm a resident for 48 years and a taxpayer
Thank
in
you.
the same house. You people are in charge of the fire aspect of it. However, I claim some knowledge of the medical aspect of how quick the first responders, I call the fire department, can get to a case. The hospital can hopefully do the miracles, but it depends upon what state the patient is brought in. And for heart attacks, strokes, diabetics, asthmatics, and everything else, the time that it takes and the first response that they get, wherever it happens to be, and the time that it takes, that's the important thing. The hospital can take, but if the patient is in good shape when they get to the hospital can't do any miracles. So it's most important that there is no gap with the excess of getting what I call the first responders to every part of Bronxville, Tuckahoe, Eastchester. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Leary. Ray?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
This is my first time coming before the board, and quite frankly, I'm highly disappointed. I know all you guys up here are volunteers, except for the chief, but everyone's blaming the two losers that didn't show up. Okay, but amazing watching what you three just did right now. You managed to vote on 6 different things. And out of those 6 different things you voted on, they've been lingering on for years. How do you talk about heat in Chester Heights Firehouse not being there for 3 years? These are the public services or first responders, okay? You want to blame the engineers. You want to blame the previous boards. It's your guys' responsibilities, and because the 2 losers didn't show up, you just voted on temporary heat. That's embarrassing. That's absolutely embarrassing, okay? Our temporary secretary that we have over here tells us that we have $2.5 to $3 million of surplus money in our budget, but we had no heat, okay? You talk about $10,000, you know, last month that you wanted to vote for temporary for overtime. How many vacancies do we have currently right now in the fire district? Four paid men vacancies? So the entire year we've been paying overtime because people on the board couldn't agree, okay? Embarrassing, but you 3 just made decisions again. You can't blame the 2 losers that didn't show up. You have to blame the 5 people that are on the board. All 5 of you take equal responsibility for not doing what you should have done. I have a brand new $1 million ladder truck sitting next to me over here. It says 16 on it. That 16 represents the village of Tuckahoe. It doesn't represent the town of Eastchester and Chester Heights. So now you're making a management decision. You can't put a ladder truck in a firehouse because you bought too big a ladder truck. You didn't plan on making the renovations. You're volunteers, okay, and I understand that. But God, you suck at what you do. You really, really do, okay? The integrity. I'm just going down the list you gave everybody here today. It's unfortunate that the 100 people on YouTube or whatever's watching this can't see it. You literally have an integrity issue over here, and not one of the 3 that are here mentioned about the corruption angle of the guy that didn't show up because he's too busy out in Montauk Point or wherever the hell he is, okay? What's going on in regard to the integrity issue? This gentleman over here, he sounds like he has a little bit of a legal background. All that FOIL stuff, all that information that got lost, and no one's worried about it?
We're very,
He has a
very
son. He has a son who wants to come on the job. You have a son who want to come on the job. You literally wasted a whole year and paid how many thousands of dollars in overtime that you ran out of. The incompetence, seriously. Forget the other two losers. Maybe the three of you may want to think about, should I be here too? Because guess what? We have not served this community. You need to work on the game, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, just to comment on what you said, I thought we voted on permanently putting HVAC heating in
it's on
Chester
the
Heights,
list.
not
Yeah,
temporary.
Yeah, the temporary heat was the baseboard heat that we put in
Okay.
last year.
Yes.
Very good.
You putting heat in the building that has not had heat in 3 years. You have not had a functioning boiler in 3 years. So don't try to be a hero right now. Those
Okay,
guys
brother.
have been freezing.
Good.
All right.
All right,
Next, let's
William
get the next
Carroll.
Thank you.
Well, I think you're doing a pretty good job, guys.
Thank you.
That's my first view, okay? This guy may know a lot more than I do. But I do have a question. Tom, you're the one that has a son as a firefighter, right?
Not a firefighter. He's an eligible candidate on the list.
Okay, and that's where you go into this ethics council so you can see, when can we expect a decision from the ethics council?
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
What does that
We'll
mean, a
send it
week
off-
or
we'll
2
send it
weeks?
off to him on Monday, and we'll ask him to.
Well, we're meeting again in 2 weeks, so yeah,
so
hopefully an answer by then.
we'll have that.
So let me just ask you a question then, as it relates to this offer to be made, the county offer for the early retirement.
Yes.
If you're cleared to vote on that, okay, and that comes up again to be voted on, and you three are the only one here because the other two guys are off doing God knows what, can you vote on that without them being here?
As long as another question isn't raised, yes, absolutely.
So, I don't want to ask you ahead of time how you could vote, because I don't think you can do that, right?
Well, I pretty much said it already. I said it's a great idea.
Okay.
It's just that my
So-
hands are tied.
Given my scenario, if you get the okay to do it on the ethics, then you can bring it up again, you can vote on it again, and at least can be put out to the firefighters for them to decide, which ought to be the case anyway, I think everybody believes. Stu, given that case, what was the savings that you came up with roughly?
Well, our treasurer came up with it as being, at this time, in $2020, it's about $50,000 between a new hire and a
Yeah, it was
departing.
30 to 45,
Thir-
depending
30 to
on new
45.
hire.
Depending on, that is the savings that we realized if we fill the slot with a new hire.
What's the aggregate savings, though? That's a per firefighter you're talking about.
Right. So it depends on how many people leave, but we could be looking at 200 if 4 left, something a little less than 200,000. Then if 4 left and then they were replaced, which, as we discussed tonight, can't happen right away because the academy's in February, right? So we can't hire new firefighters until 2021 anyway. So.
But the
if
projected
4 left,
savings-
it could be close to 170, $165,000.
Okay, so that's not chump change.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Well, actually, if we had hired 3 firefighters in last February, we would have paid them about $225,000 to $250,000 salary and benefits, and that probably would have eliminated the $350,000 in overtime this summer.
Okay. The last question I have is on the legal counsel, a position you're talking about. Something to consider is, we have legal counsels in both Bronxville, Eastchester, Tuckahoe. These people are already on staff in the towns.
Yes.
It may be a shared service you might want to look at, so you don't have to hire a full-time position and go through that whole scenario.
That's a very good
These
point.
people may
As long
be
as
able to
there's no
do the
conflict.
job for you at a lot less cost for everybody. So-
Mr. Keating's right. It's a good idea. We have to just be aware of conflicts because when you have 3 municipalities operating together, if an issue arises between 2 municipalities, that legal counsel would be tied to that municipality. Then we'd still have to find someone to be on our behalf. But it's a valid point. We've talked about that also with mechanic positions. I mean, DPW is a huge facility down in Eastchester. There's no reason why we can't have a mechanic who can actually work on vehicles that we could split a position with the town. We have brought that up. We've gotten some pushback from other board members in the past. It's still on the docket of something to investigate, that if we can maybe get one mechanic who we can split salary and benefits with the town or one of the 2 villages and be able to work on our smaller vehicles, our SUVs, our other trucks, it would be something to look into.
Okay. The last question I have is on the Chester, I'm from Chester Heights, by the way, so.
Okay.
So I have a vested interest in that firehouse. You guys do a great job, and whenever there's a problem, everybody in the world shows up, you know?
Look to those guys.
Whether it's EMT, a fireman, you know, my ex-door neighbor had a problem. I mean, the world was there, and they were there quickly, so that's great. That's why we pay our taxes and all that good stuff. So, get a little lost in the detail on the Chester Heights situation, but it does sound like we have coverage for the time being, and maybe a Band-Aid approach going on before a permanent solution is reached. Is that what, is that in
That's
essence
pretty
what
well
it is?
said.
We're operating with a budget that has a little bit more of a need to be higher on the transparency level. And we're gonna be working on that for 21. This will not be a problem in the future, but we're being a little bit more methodical about backfilling that time for the rest of the year, but it will be open, it will be filled.
Now, the other part is on the fix for the inside, the HVAC, the floor. I understand the floor can't really hold the truck that's there.
It can hold it, it's being supported, it's not it's working, but it's not working to what the residents deserve.
Okay.
And that has been a very large Band-Aid on that floor for 25 years, long before any of us were on the board. We've already redone the roof, we've redone the exterior. When I came onto the board several years ago, I had asked, why don't we do the inside first? I know there was one other commissioner, Anthony Laurie, who also expressed an interest in trying to do the inside first as well. We were told at that time by the board that it was not the right move, and the other three members moved to start with the roof. This floor could have been replaced by now in a lot of different scenarios. It has not been. Hopefully now, with the receipt of these bids that came in yesterday, we are actually on a better track now to replace that floor. Once that floor is replaced, that firehouse would be incredibly in a better state than it has been ever before.
Now, that floor, that's a big deal, right?
It is.
Expense-wise?
It is. It will be a minimum of probably a $400,000 project just for the floor.
Now, on that renovation, the HVAC, it sounded like you were talking about those units that you hang on.
That was two options, but we moved to do HVAC. The other is the Mitsubishi split units. We moved today to invest in the HVAC system.
So that's a lesser expensive way to go, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
generally they'd be more efficient.
All right, good. Well, I hope the ethics things comes back. I hope you get cleared on the ethics, and we kind of know which way you would vote on, at least to put the offer out there to the firefighters that want to retire, because frankly, that'd be a savings. I think makes a hell of a lot of sense.
So I wasn't part of the CBA, but Stuart and Tom did a really great job, and we set up a theoretical on how much savings they did with a person who was hired at 25, worked for 25 years, retired, and then passed away at 80, God forbid. And the number was $132,000 per firefighter over that 55-year period. So let's give these guys a little bit of a break. They did a great job.
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Hi, guys.
Morning.
Good morning. First of all, thanks for doing what you do.
You're welcome.
I served on many boards in my life. I know it's
I'm sorry.
sometimes.
Can you speak into this?
Which one? This one?
Something
both of
going
them.
on there. It's not. We can hear you.
Sometimes it feels like it's not worth what all the time you put in. Please accept some of the comments I'm about to make as a fairly keen observer of your meetings. So I have a couple of things I want to mention. At the February 1st meeting, three of you, two that aren't here, and Commissioner Keating, voted not to hire 3 new people. Commissioner Winters said, I quote, "We looked at a 10-year history of the fire district. There was no indication or correlation that when we hire more people, our costs go down. In fact, there's a strong argument that can be made that if we pay existing firefighters overtime, we will actually save money by not hiring new people." That was on February 1st. Okay, now a few weeks ago, you hired 3 people. All right, so this guy, I mean, that's 6 or 7 months ago. So as an observer, I get to wonder what shifted in the last 6 or 7 months. So I have a question. How long, the three people you hired, how long do you commissioners feel, and chief, how long do you feel you were down three people? I mean, you just hired three people. So in your, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I mean, how long do you think you were down three people?
The first
2.5
retirement
months.
was in June of 2019. The second retirement was November 2019, and the third retirement was January 2020. So
Okay.
as each of those people retired, they weren't replaced until this fire academy that just started.
Exactly. Now, thank you. So it's at least a year, year and a half, let's say. Okay, it's sometime between less than a year and a year. Now, in that time, how many firehouses did you have to close because you didn't have those three people? That would be none, because you didn't close any firehouses in the last year, correct? So
Correct.
we didn't hire those people to keep firehouses open. That's correct, because otherwise we would have had to close firehouses. As an observer, it's just a question I ask, okay? So there's had to be other reasons why we hired these people other than to just keep firehouses open. Now, the three new people, I know Jamie said at a meeting that the average cost for a fireman now, with all benefits and everything that goes with it, is $194,000 a person. That's the number you used.
Not for a new firefighter.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said
At top pay.
for a top pay. So the three new people are $400,000, right? So we added $400,000,
$250.
$250. They're each.
They're $55,000
No, with all
a
benefits.
year.
I thought you said $131,000.
No, that's what they save for each one. Every time a new firefighter replaces a retiring firefighter,
Okay, so
that brings
it's almost
$131,000
inconceivable.
savings.
It's almost inconceivable that it's $80,000 a fireman with all benefits, Jamie. That's not true.
No, it's about 100,000.
100, okay. So we added 300,000. Okay, we added 300,000 when we did the hiring a couple of weeks ago. Now, the chief said, and I could quote him here. He said, this is the last meeting. We anticipated hiring 3 firefighters, and by not hiring, we increased the overtime. That's what you said back, just the last meeting.
And that's 100% true.
Okay, so had we hired them in February, and now, of that 300,000, would we have saved $300,000 in overtime by those 3 guys?
Probably 200 easily.
200
Yeah, I mean, you
easy.
would have
So
to
that
look
means that
at
you
the
are
The
numbers.
all
lieutenants are
thinking-
going to
I
get
don't
their
know the
overtime
answers to
because it does not pay to hire 13 lieutenants. We have
Okay.
10 assigned lieutenants and 2 guys that back up. And-
Okay,
and
so
it
what?
doesn't
So
pay to get
what?
to 13.
What did we budget for the overtime for next year? It's got to be at least $200,000 less than this year.
For the overtime?
Yeah. Why
Good
are you laughing?
question,
You
brother.
just said we were going to save $200,000 with the 3 new firefighters.
If we hire in February, that probably will happen. We will save that money.
Are you going to hire
absolutely correct.
again in February?
Yes. Well, she said we're 4 men down, right? 4, not men,
We're
members down.
We're down 2 right now.
Okay.
2, okay.
I submit to you that adding 3 more men means more overtime, not less overtime. There's no way that 3 more men is going to lead to less overtime, and you know it. It's in the culture. I'm a union guy. I was a union guy for my entire life, the head of a union down here in Bronxville, teachers, okay? We didn't have overtime. We had how many sick days did a fireman get here?
They have unlimited.
Unlimited sick time, okay? So you have unlimited sick time. Guys want their overtime. It's in the culture. It's in the culture of firehouses all over the United States. You're not going to do anything about the overtime. It's in their contract. They should get their overtime.
Right.
That's what you did. You didn't do anything in the CBA to change that. They're entitled to it. They're not breaking any rules. The only control you have over this $18 million budget is the hiring. You don't have any control over it. Listen, you're going to send them to do that live fire thing because Commissioner Winter said we don't have any real fires. That were his words. So you're going to send them. That means you have 3 new guys you have to send overtime to go to the live fire drills. Okay. So whatever it is, they're going to get their overtime. That's not going to stop. Any new guy that comes in the 4th, the old guy said to him, you guaranteed you're going to get at least 10 grand in overtime here in this district. Minimum. So That is never going to change. The only possibility you have to control the budget is in the hiring. And you're telling me you're not closing firehouses by not having had these people for the last year, and now you're going to hire again and add another $400,000 there. And then when they get, now, clearly, your only hope is to at least do it through attrition and through with a buyout or something.
Right.
But you didn't use a buyout this time. Nope. So we have all the higher salaries, 194,000, and we also have new guys with no promise that any of the old guys should retire, and they don't have to.
No.
They're all within their rights to earn their overtime, do whatever it is they do. That's your only control over the budget here. It is. So I just simply can't understand that. I can't understand the adding of firefighters when you haven't needed them to keep the firehouses open. And clearly, that we're not at a loss for fire service here. We're doing great. I don't hear any complaints from the public that we don't have fire service. These guys attend even all the medical calls, which is not done. I lived in Scarsdale for 20 years. It's not done in Scarsdale. They wait for the Scarsdale Volunteer Ambulance Corps to call them and say, hey, guys, we need you here. They don't attend every medical call in Scarsdale. I'm really good friends with the people in Scarsdale, SVAC. Fire don't show up to every medical call. They wait for a call, like if there's a serious accident or something. Be that as it may, I made my point. My point is that your only control over the cost of this fire district is in hiring. And if you're just going to hire 3 and another 3 in February, then it's out of control.
You're right.
These guys could get their overtime. They deserve it. It's in their contract. You fought over overtime. I think you're insane to fight over overtime. They're going to have their overtime. Right. And I think you're wrong to just keep fighting over that. But the hiring, that's in your purview.
Right. And we want to give them the overtime when it's they need it. We do. And you're right. That's the only thing is hiring. And, it's true.
If I could just say a couple of comments, I'll see it out the mic, so of course the public will hear. So when the budget was prepared last year, there was budgeted $500,000 in the overtime line, I believe. Correct, Jamie? I believe that if we hired the 3 people in February for the March Academy, they would have graduated in the end of June, and those 3 people would have been available to cover the vacant positions, eliminating the additional $250,000 to $300,000 overtime, or at least the majority of it. We did have 2 people out on long-term sick leave that they were not being replaced. However, I believe if we had full staffing going into the summer, a lot of the overtime would have been eliminated, and we would have been a lot closer to the $500,000 budgeted. By not hiring, we ran through that $500,000 until September 15th, and that's when we reached 0 on the amount of overtime left in the budget, and that's why the positions were not filled that day.
So, Chief, I want to say this, because Jeff has made a very astute observation. Let me just... We asked, when I got on the board, I asked Jamie to look at those numbers and look at the firefighting force, the actual numbers we had, and the numbers didn't match up. We had a full staff in 2018, and the overtime went up to over $800,000, so that's not necessary.
But we also had a fire in December where 2 gentlemen went out on long-term injuries, so
I know there are a lot of variables, but there is some evidence that's Jeffrey is making a good point that if you hire more guys, they too want overtime. Everybody wants overtime. It's in their contract and they deserve it, and so you add more people and you'll have more overtime wanted, and so he's right. Controlling it is out of a need.
The other consideration was the average age of the members was getting very high. We were up to like 46, 47 was the average age, and then they're more likely to get hurt at a fire. Firefighting is very physically demanding.
It's dangerous.
And if you have 50, we have 63-year-old gentlemen that are firefighters, and they're in great shape, but they're more likely to get injured and possibly go out on long-term injury. I want to see the younger, lower-cost firefighters hired, and we're going to reduce our costs, our pension, our medical, all those costs are going to go down. the more younger people that we hire with the new contract and with the new pension requirements from New York State. So it's in the district's best interest
Yeah,
to
we agree.
hire younger people
We
at
want
cheaper
to.
cost.
We want to, and
Well, he's suggesting that we don't hire.
hopefully, well, he's not suggesting that.
I'm
You said
totally
there's a bu-
suggesting you not hire unless
You have
some
a
of the old
bylaw.
guys leave.
Right.
Of
Well,
course, you
that's
got to
the only
replace
time we
guys
do
that
hire.
leave, but we didn't. Okay.
I'm just saying, the only time we hire is when people leave. We don't hire, potentially we could hire going forward to increase the staffing, but in the past, as of up to today, we've only hired when somebody has left.
And that's why
I named the 3 retirements,
It's a great idea.
the 3 retirements.
Gets the younger guys
And we
in.
Again, the
them.
incentive is a great idea. Of
Jeff,
course, I
it
agree.
is, Jeffrey, I appreciate your comments, and they all are correct, there's no doubt about that. But if we don't replace our firefighters, the overtime budget will be $1.5 million. And literally, we technically, as the chief said correctly, we would have saved money hiring. In December, the 5 of us were unanimous to send the candidates to CPAT. Every intention was in February. You're saying what happened between February and August. I want to know what happened between December and February. And that would have saved. I know the cost of the new firefighters, and I didn't do it. Stu did it. Stu structured that contract. He made all those cost savings. That was his job. My job was give the sugar so that the CBA would take it. And that's what we did. And they agreed with that contract. I don't think there's only one person that complains about it, and that's falsely. He recused himself from it, and then uses his ammunition. That was a great contract. The whole purpose of that contract was to satisfy some of the things that the existing members wanted, and to give the district the ability to hire cheaper firefighters going into the future to save money to replace our getting old workforce. We have 36 members over 20 years in the Eastchester Fire Department. You are absolutely right. We should offer them a buyout. I wish I could have voted for it today because we would have already passed it. We will wait till Exodus Council makes his decision, and I'll either vote for it or not.
I only have one comment.
Okay?
Can't call these guys cheaper firefighters. Let's not use that word. Strike that from.
Okay. Exactly. That is wrong. But they are more newer firefighters, younger, more economical, and
we have one
I'll
difference of
repeat again.
opinion. Me and the chief. I don't think you'll save any money in overtime. We'll talk next year. I'll be at another meeting and you'll report on the number. So what's the fiscal year? Is it now? Is it
January to
January
December.
to
We do a
January to
calendar
December?
year.
So in December, Jamie will tell us what the overtime was for the year, and then I'll come back a year from then, and we'll.
All right, that's fair
I'll
enough.
be
We
here.
love to have
Okay?
you here.
Thank you.
You added to it. And I'll say one more time to the public, we do have great firefighters. 95% of our firefighters come to work every day and work off. In that point, I'll give it to Steve, and he can tell us even more.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for your comments, but we don't have guaranteed overtime in a contract. Overtime only takes place when a firefighter calls in sick. So it's not like you come
Well,
on
that's
and we
not
guarantee
true.
overtime.
Float days create overtime. It's not just when firefighters
Well,
go
not
It
as
sick.
we're
doesn't say
full
the
staffing.
automatic, only if the staffing isn't complete. You could
Okay.
have,
I
you can still have enough manning, even someone on a float time. But just to let everyone know, as far as sick time goes, 32 firefighters never called in sick this past year. 14 called in one time, 18 called in 2 times. So sick isn't the problem. So the firefighters do show up all the time. We do our work, but once in a while, because of vacations and days off, it creates overtime, and that's what we're talking about. So if there was hiring, there wouldn't have been as much overtime, because you need a certain amount of men. We have 14 men and women working every day, and that's what you need to staff all the firehouses and all the apparatus. And when it falls below the 14, that's when overtime is created. There's nothing in the contract that says we automatically get it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
That 32, that is for this year?
I thought it was
That's an increase,
34.
isn't it? Because of our sick incentive we put in the CBA, usually we only have about 18 to 19 people not calling out sick.
Thank you.
And now it's 32, so that is a good thing.
And
That-
you would
that's
save
working.
overtime by half.
Right.
Anyone else? Please, ma'am.
I hate these
A little more farther apart. I can lay down in between us, and we're just playing.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Elena O'Mahony. Hi,
Morning.
thank you first of all for everything that you do for the fire district. I'm a resident of Chester Heights as well as the president of the Chester Heights Civic Association. What I didn't hear addressed here today is, all I heard is that 15,000 is going to be allotted to overtime. So how long does that leave the Chester Heights Firehouse open?
2 weeks, and then we are going.
2
No,
weeks?
Chester Heights will be open for the rest of the year.
It will be open for the rest of the year.
21 and so on.
Okay, so I guess you'll have to decide though you're gonna have to budget more overtime to do that, right?
Right.
Because some of the things that I read said that the way the manning's going to be done is that Chester Heights would be slated to be the first house to be unmanned if if we were short on manning.
Yes,
That's why
there's
we-
no
that's
such
why
program.
we have a public meeting and it's
Okay.
all.
I don't know where that comes from.
Okay, so that's not gonna be the case.
I don't know where you heard it from.
Okay.
We have no.
There was an order that I put out on Tuesday, and it stated that Ladder 17 was the first company to come out. That firehouse has 2 companies in it. So that
That's
would be
the
the
north
first
end.
company to go out. The ladder truck would go out first.
Okay,
And that order was rescinded, or it was put in abeyance until today, as of Tuesday at 9 p.m., and we restaffed that ladder truck and put it back in service. So Engine 30 is not the first company to go out. Ladder 17 would be the first company to go out.
okay.
Then Engine 30, and then hopefully the car man, and then we would maintain that level. We wouldn't go below that level. But that would cover 5 firefighter positions if it happened that, there was a reason where we didn't have 5 people.
I see. So if it
So-
got down below the 5, that's
Yes.
when.
Right.
I'm sorry, Chief, with that order, where does that goes to? That's an internal.
That
order.
was directed to the captains. It was special
Okay.
order number 8 or
Oh.
9 for 2020, and it was because the overtime ran out, and then I rescinded it.
Got it, yeah. So you
until
got a copy of
today.
that order?
No, I didn't.
The captain of the firehouse?
People talk.
Oh,
People
okay.
talk.
All right.
All right.
So,
But there was
Okay.
a lot of public misinformation out
Right,
there that the whole
right.
North End Firehouse was closed. It was closed for maybe an hour, and then Engine 30 was Engine 29 was relocated up there. Engine 29 was out of Station 3 that day because the firehouse was being used as a polling place. So not to expose our members to the public coming in to vote for Bronxville Village election,
okay,
we sent Engine 29 up to the North End Firehouse to cover that district. We would never leave the North End Firehouse closed because of Garth Road, the numerous apartment buildings up there in the commercial district.
okay.
We don't want to close any firehouses or any companies, but we have to go with the ones, that's how I was going to manage it. It was Ladder 17, then Engine 30, then the car man
Okay.
would be where the staffing was going to be pulled from. But again, that order was put in abeyance until today, at which time it'll be rescinded.
Okay, thank you. And that's exactly why I'm here, is to get rid of those rumors and
Right,
to find
right.
out what the facts are. So no, I'm not a fire chief or commissioner, but that is why, people talk. There's a lot going on Facebook. There's a lot being
That's a
circulated, and
Good place to get misinformation.
exactly, and that's why I am here.
Well, thank you
And
for
that's why we
coming.
wrote to you and said, come and listen to everybody.
Yes,
you'll
and
hear the
I
truth
appreciate
and-
the opportunity to be here because I know a lot of these meetings have not been,
This is
have
the
had
first
an
one,
opportunity
yes.
for public comment. So thank you for doing
It's
this.
been difficult.
And yes, I understand that. And if I could just request that, if you can keep us in the loop, I know now you have our email address, if you can just kind of keep us up to date, because our residents are worried that house
Not-
may be
it's not going to
unmanned.
be closed.
So as long as we can give them that confidence that it won't be, that's
It
fantastic.
may be temporarily unmanned during construction. We can't keep
Right,
a fire truck
right.
in there when there's no floor.
That I
But we're
understand.
looking at several options on how to possibly put manpower in Chester Heights, maybe just during the day or maybe 24 hours a day. We're looking at all our options for that. So
Great.
I don't anticipate construction to start for at least 2 months, maybe longer. So we still have some time to work out the details on the staffing for Chester Heights during construction.
Okay, great.
Nothing's been decided yet. on
Thank
that.
you. Just
And that
keep us
will
in the
be the
loop, that'd be
first
great.
4 or 5 months in 2021, and we
Okay.
will need the patience of the Chester Heights Civic
course.
Association to understand that this is something that benefits you.
Of course.
You are going to have a rebuilt firehouse at the end,
Right.
and that's where you have to keep the focus.
Right, of course.
And how we choose to man that and protect that section, we're not going to put it at risk. We just might choose an area and manning that actually helps the firefighters also and the residents of Chester Heights.
Exactly, and communication is key. And again, if we are a great hub to reach out to all of our residents. So again, if you could let us know, and we can get like an official statement from you guys so that the rumors don't happen and the rumor mill doesn't get everybody up in arms.
You can
We
always
can,
call the chief, too.
Or email us. You have commissioner's
Yes.
email.
So
If you
we'll do
hear
that, and
something
if
that
we
you
can keep
want
in
answered,
contact
email
too.
us and we will answer it.
right, so then this way people, again, stay calm and stay, and informed. That's the most important thing.
Mike,
So
you want to
thank
get up
you.
again? And Ray, you wanted to get up again? All right, but be quick because I really have to leave shortly.
Got it.
You know, you can't prevent 2078 if it happens to a firefighter. That means going out on sick.
Just step a little closer.
You can't prevent 2078 if a firefighter goes out, injury on the job. You know, if you went by the OSHA standards, and we keep talking about overtime, really, that engine down in Chester Heights or the engine up here should be manned by 4 firefighters and an officer. Okay?
That's not
And it's-
accurate. It's an NFPA standard. It's
Well, the
not OSHA.
NFPA.
OSHA is law.
NFPA, Brian.
NFPA is a guidance.
Well, that's the guidance. Am I right or wrong?
Well, it doesn't matter if you have one person on a rig and you have 15 rigs showing up, or if you have your 15 people showing up on 3 rigs. You need the first company there within 4 minutes and the full complement of a first alarm assignment within 9 minutes. So it's not necessarily that you have to show up with 4 people on the same rig. If we have 2 rigs show up with 2 people, you have your 4 people that can be a hose team or a ladder company, ventilation team, search team.
Brian, no disrespect. If there's a child or a mother hanging out the window, let me know, okay?
But 2 people can start the rescue.
I wish that we could put that out for a public vote. It was actually my intent to do that, but the lawyer told me that is a commissioner's job and we can't allow the citizens to do our job. In other words, I would like for the public to actually vote on whether they want 4 firefighters per rig. But unfortunately, that's not something I can put out for referendum.
All right, just to follow up, that's a nice dream, but in today's costliness, which you're all experiencing, to put 4 people on a rig right now, the town of Eastchester, just be cost prohibitive, and I think we're all aware of that.
Well, you
Okay,
wouldn't
but-
keep 6 rigs. You
but-
would have to condense the rigs.
But
You're right.
well, then we'd need a lot more mutual aid because we'd need the other engine or the other ladder truck to get on the other side of the building. So if you want to condense and get rid of half the apparatus, I don't know whether that makes sense or not. But one of the things that we all forgot that the sleeping assistants that we have here used to be the Volunteer Fire Association, and that disappeared. Okay, because nobody wanted to do the training for the volunteers. Maybe we need to look at that too, in order to give these gentlemen who work real hard hand. If people worry about who's getting to the front door, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that's not inside that structured building. Maybe need to do a little bit of awakening of those volunteers that used to be here. 20 years ago, you had 200 volunteers in this town. I have no idea what we have left, okay, but maybe it's something to look into also there or whatever, as a cost-effective tool doing to this austerity crisis that we have going on over here. Thank you.
It was not that the training was not being offered. The last time we had volunteers, I was the training officer. The volunteers wouldn't show up. And the reasons people don't volunteer anymore, it's more a socioeconomic reason. A lot of people here are, the town of Eastchester turned into more white collar than it was blue collar 20 years ago. And, if people are working down in the city or they're running a business, they may not have time to go out at 3 in the morning for a fire call. And we got a lot busier than 20 years ago. We'd have 800 or 900 calls a year. We have almost 4,000 calls a year. So it also became a matter of the volunteers. The standards for New York State for volunteer training it used to be a 40-hour class to join the volunteers when I joined in 1984. Now it's like 180 hours or something. It's much stringent requirements. It's a much bigger commitment than it was 20 years ago.
Chief, what we've seen today at this meeting, a lot of things can't get done when people get involved. We've had people show up here from different community groups. All I'm asking is maybe this is an opportunity that maybe this department and this community and these civic associations, somehow if they can get involved a little more, you may find those 15, 20, 30 volunteers who may put in the effort to go for that 120, 140 hours worth of training that can give your men and the paid men the assistance they need on those major fires. Okay, we're very fortunate. We only get 1 or 2 major fires in this town a year. A lot of our work is the car accidents, the heart attacks, okay? They're the smaller things, but those small things are saving lives. So maybe those volunteers, if we offer the training and pay to train these people, It's your next door neighbor who can run across the lawn and give you a hand instead of waiting for the first engine to show up because we're playing ring around the rosy of where we can put our engine because we don't have an adequate building to put them in, okay, or enough staffing to show up that day. That's all I'm asking.
Right, it's a good point. Scarsdale does have a mixed firefighting force.
And I would just mention, though, that our volunteer association put out a mass mailing to entice people to join and a very modest social media campaign this year. I believe it was in December they did it. I'm not sure there was any fruitful response from our community members to sign up. And the hardship of that is that they need to be residents to be volunteers. If we wanted to grab a volunteer from another municipality, maybe it would be easier. But I do know that they did try. And we saw those. I think I even got one in the mail.
I got one.
So they have tried in the ways they are able to, with the size of their group and the abilities that they have at this stage of their lives, to foster some kind of recruitment. And so far, it just has not been positive. But they have tried. I would make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, it's going to.
Everyone's good in the public? No more comments?
That's it.
I'll second that motion, join.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much for
Thank you
coming.
for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.